You met my brother in my presentation and the slide. And he often says, I'm not surprised my sister gets paid to tell people what to do. She was a very bossy little girl. So this, of course, is, you are the star. Under the magnifying, you are the star. Before we bring up willing volunteers, now what I'm going to suggest, what you can do is, we don't want more than 3 people at a time lining up. So the first 3 who want to line up can do that. Now, here's the criteria. You will probably only deliver a couple of lines, maybe more. However, you need to be able to say it again. So if I say, let me hear this again, you do need to be able to repeat what you said. So if you want to write down what your opening would be, and I will make an executive decision. In other words, I have a couple of helpers at my table, so if they want to come up, they get priority. And I have a very important VIP who is driving me to the airport on Monday, so if he wants to be considered, they get priority. So just think, a couple of lines or a story, but you do have to be able to repeat it. And the idea is, you will speak until I touch you on the shoulder, and that means I have a recommendation. And what I would like the rest of you to do is think like an executive speech coach. Because you know it's a lot easier to look at someone else and tell them what they're doing well or what you would improve than it is when you're up here. This way, it helps tune in your eye for when you watch recordings of your own presentations. And if you've heard Darren, he says record everything, especially at the beginning. What some people forget is the assumption is you're going to watch them. Because just recording them doesn't give you any chance to be your own speech coach. And when you watch a recording of yourself, don't think of it as yourself. You have to look and think, what would I tell that speaker they're doing well, and what would I tell that speaker? Because it's easier, otherwise you're going to think, oh look, my hair was standing on end. Oh, my skirt's wrinkled, or why is my brooch off? You don't look at the presentation if it's you. It's too personal, so pretend it's someone else. Based on the last session, do you have any short, specific questions that, based on what you heard, you need more clarification on that I didn't give you? Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking about refraining from saying I.
Yes.
Could you just kind of elaborate on, because you hear a lot of speakers say that because you try to
okay. You will, thank you, you will not speak and not say I. Of course you won't. However, if you start every sentence and every paragraph, which you can really see, and I do this with my client sales letters as well, highlight them so that I isn't always the first section. So, for example, I could talk about when I was a little girl growing up in Wimborne, Dorset. What you could also do is say, if you had known me when I was a little girl growing up in Wimborne, Dorset, you see, you are giving your life experience, but you're bringing the audience in with you. Have you ever had the experience? How often have you? Does this make sense? Does this resonate with you? Amen. And what I teach all my sales professionals is to come up with you-focused lines that they have in their back pocket. Now, what I mean by back pocket is they are prepared. Jerry Lewis. Do you know who Jerry Lewis, the comedian, is? If you don't, He was a very famous comedian for many decades. Lives in Las Vegas. He said, my best ad-libs take 10 hours to write. What makes it an ad-lib is you have the lines prepared. You don't quite know when you're going to use them. And I suggest that we can have good ad-libs. For example, if someone opens the door or helps put my bag in the overhead, I always say, nice to know chivalry's not dead in Texas, or chivalry's not dead on United Airlines. This is in my back pocket. Or I get in the elevator and I see a cute guy, I say, can I push your button for you? So these are everyday ad-libs. You go to a networking event. To be interesting, you have to be interested. So if you want to initiate a conversation, you might say, oh, what does your pin say? Oh, never seen St. John look as good. Oh, it's true what they say about men in Texas. What what do they say about men in Texas? These are lines that you have in your back pocket. So at work, you have, oh, didn't know you were going to be in this meeting. Can you come up and give us 10 minutes on your latest project? What do you have from the back of the room or 8 rows to the front? What do you say? Thank you for the opportunity to update you on our project. If you will remember, 2 months ago, this is what. So you have a way to start, because once you get off to a good start, everything works. So with that, remember, my volunteers get priority. All right, so we now have enough. We need 3 or 4. Just keep your eye on when it gets good. If you want to come and, why not sit close so you can leap up? But we know. All right, good. So you are, of course, here, James, for the first time. From Laughing Matters Toastmasters?
We're laughing really matters.
Good. You brought your fans.
Yes.
It does help to get a good response. All right, James. And this is an opening of what type of presentation?
Sales.
Oh, good. This is your real-life sales presentation in real life?
Yes.
What do you sell for whom?
This is a sales presentation for Toastmasters, but what I do sell is pedicab rides.
Pedicab rides?
Pedicab, it's a bicycle rickshaw.
Oh. So is this for Toastmasters then? Or for the...
It's for Toastmasters and perhaps other presentations.
Okay, all right. So I will say, here's James, and we have 1 clap. Okay, 1 clap. Here's James.
Hey everyone, selling is a way of life.
Okay. Not hey everyone. Just start with your line. And I want you to just slow down a little while they get used to you. Keep your energy, but slow down just a little. Here's James.
Selling is a way of life. The better you are able to persuade, convince, negotiate, and close others on taking action, the better you will be able to create the life you want for yourself and those you care most about.
All right, now put that in your pocket. So I do suggest you can write it so you can repeat it, but you're going to have to actually look at the audience and do the best you can. So last time you get a clap, James. Here's James.
Selling is a way of life. The better you are able to sell, close, negotiate, persuade, convince others on your points of view, the better you will be able to create the life you want for yourself and those you love most.
Well, the suggestion is, now the words are good. Not every word is of equal importance. And if you make a statement or ask a question, you have to pause and let them think. Because, as counterintuitive as it seems, you actually connect more on the silence when you give people time to think and join last and think, yeah, really, that makes sense. So give me your notes. Selling is a way of life. So say that. Just similar to that.
Selling is a way of life.
The better you're able to,
persuade, convince, negotiate, and close others on taking action, the better you will be able to create the life that you want for yourself and those you care most about.
Good. I would stop at the life you want. That includes your family, your career, your social responsibility. Say, speak in shorter sentences or phrases. It's easier to remember without running out of breath, and it's easier to build. Because a better life, you know what a better life is to you. So if you want to add more details of what that might include, do it as another sentence. All right, give him a hand. Good? All right. My able assistant. All right, so Adrian, what are you going to present?
I'm going to talk about traveling on an aircraft.
All right. Here's Adrian.
How many of you have ever traveled on a commercial aircraft? Raise your hand.
Come back. First of all, at the beginning, I'm going to suggest you stand still. Because what we can do is distract from our own message with unnecessary movement. Now, I am not telling you not to move. At the general rule, and we all know there are times that you would not go along with the general rule, I suggest you stand still at the beginning while people are getting used to the sound of your voice. And the way you emotionally connect to an audience is you talk to one person 400 times. And just as a matter of interest, will you raise your hand if you have never been on an airplane? Then the assumption is, and with most, not every audience, but most audiences, most people would have flown at least once. So however you change that, Adrian, you're going to stand still and talk as if you were talking to one person. Everyone will hear, Adrian is talking to me. After your first sentence, if you have a great need, then you may move. Here's Adrian.
How many of you have ever traveled on an aircraft, commercial aircraft? How would you like it if there were designated seating for small children? Wouldn't that be great, especially if it is a long flight? I have traveled many times on a commercial aircraft.
Okay, stop there.
And
Stop
yes,
there.
yes.
Now, your opening words were?
How many of you have ever traveled on
Yeah. And I would say, how often have you? Because the more we fly, and what I thought you'd say, that there was designated seating for children in the luggage rack. That's what I thought you were doing. Because raise your hand if you would pay extra for non-child flights. I understand most of you are parents, and the reality of life is that, and I wear my Bose headset so I might not hear your children. I can feel them kicking the back of my chair. So I thought we were going to go for a humorous laugh. So one more time, how often have you? And when you pick it up later, you don't have to say commercially, because you just say fly and we know what you mean, unless you are talking about a private flight is your only way to go. But if you're talking about the idea and the same object you introduced before, we're already with you. Would you prefer he stood still or moved after the first line? That's the only way you know. You ask a target of supportive audience. Now you got your instructions. They said so, not me.
How many of you would...
No.
What?
How often have you?
Yes. Got confused a little bit.
I confuse men all the time.
How often do you fly in a commercial aircraft?
Now
What?
now you're confusing them.
What?
Because you're actually asking them, how often do you?
Yes.
Or how often have you? What did he ask?
Right. How often? How often?
Well, now you got them thinking about, well, about once a month, 3 times a month. Well, is it a slow speaking month or is it busy? So really all you want to know, you understand the importance of being clear at the beginning. Otherwise they're thinking about what you don't want them to think. How often have you flown on a commercial flight? Well, a lot. You just want a lot. Or, I'm probably confusing them even more than you are, but okay.
I'm going to change the opening.
Good! All right, here's Adrian.
Would you like to see designated seating for children on an aircraft?
Yes!
I would like to see them too, but I would not like to see them right behind me. I would like to see them in a designated place just for the children. Because that way they can do all of their singing and dancing and kicking and all the things that they like to do as a child without disturbing me as a passenger.
How often have you had a commercial flight ruined? Not because of the delay, or because you're tired and crabby and got a neighbor that won't shut up, but because of those beautiful, delightful, badly behaved children who belong to somebody else. For the last 36 years, I've traveled on pleasure, for pleasure, and business, and to go to Toastmaster conferences. And I bet I'm just like you. Either it's a reward and I'm going to read a thriller, or I'm going to put on my headset, close my eyes, and practice my speech. And by closing my eyes and talking softly, they probably know I'm a Toastmaster. 96.3% of the time, my trip has been ruined. Okay. Now, I'm going to suggest you got a good idea that we're all going to relate to. And you might exaggerate for drama. You might have practical suggestions. You might be humorous. In reality, we all love our children. And so we have to, perhaps at the end somewhere, and I don't know where you, remind us that children are a gift from God. And that we all are citizens together, even travelers. Now, perhaps the airlines would like to charge an extra 20% for business travelers who need to work. And understand, with economy airlines, if you get the cheapest flight, you are going to be sitting next to, or behind, or in front of adorable children. That's part of the cost of flying. Huh? Something you can work with?
Very good.
Okay, thank you. All right. See, you can be humorous, but you don't want to insult nearly every parent. So it has to have a happy ending that proves you really love children. Hello, Pebby.
Yeah.
What an interesting name. It would be easy to call you Peggy, but it's Pebby. Now, what were you christened, Pebby?
That is my name on my birth certificate.
Were your parents hippies?
No.
Good. But isn't that fascinating? The good news about having an interesting name is once people learn it, they don't forget it. And they probably enjoy saying it because Pebby is a fun name to say, especially if it's a novelty. So you have an advantage. All right, Pebby. Pebby. What? Oh, and you're a fancy person. A district H direct, a Division H direct, and Toastmasters International Division Director. You get a special pin, and that's a ruby?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I was just given it last year. So.
Well, I'm sure you earned it. They don't just give it to you unless you earn it. All right, and the opening of your presentation is from what?
This is the message that I am developing. I'm also a member of Master Speakers of San Antonio, which Crystal is.
Oh, good.
And we are working on developing our messages to be able to speak in front of people.
Good. So we will hear the opening, but what is the speech about?
About a personal, very emotional experience.
Okay. Here's Pebby.
On September 9th, 2006, at 5 a.m., I received the worst news a parent could ever receive. A police officer knocked on my door asking to speak to me. My son had been in a hiking accident and had died. My life changed forever.
Sorry for your loss. And when you go through an emotional experience, you have to make sure you are over it to be able to speak about it. So I'm suggesting this is great, and I like that you start with the date. However, what I'm going to suggest you do is start with the time. You go from small to large. Time. So it would be 8 p.m., 8 a.m.?
5 a.m.
5 a.m. 5 a.m. Now, you know at 5 a.m. nothing good happens. Oh, it's going to be a real surprise if it's good. 5 a.m. Da-da-da-da-da-da. The day I will never forget. The day my life changed forever. Imagine what it was like to hear a pounding on the door, to stagger out of bed in my jammies, to find who's at the front door.
A woman police officer that asked to come in.
Okay. Now, how you make a story. So she was, okay, a woman police officer. Now, we make certain assumptions that if a woman officer is available, they would probably be called to talk to a mother. So you see, it's 5 in the morning, the drama is already there. Staggering out of bed. I mean, any of us, I don't care what time you went to bed, 5 o'clock you probably aren't naturally waking up. So we can all experience that. Then it's an officer. Now, how you make a story come alive is you don't report on the dialogue. You deliver the dialogue. You open the door. And what I would do is I would open the door and I wouldn't tell us who's there. The woman said, "I am Officer such and such, may I come in?" So you see, then we know it's a woman's officer because she said. Now you deliver the dialogue in the way she probably said it. Now it'd be more dramatic. So pick it up with, "I opened the door. My visitor said," or she said, or the woman said, "I am officer."
I opened the door. The woman said, "I am Officer Smith. May I please come in?"
Now, hold freeze frame. Now you don't tell us how you feel. You show us. And you can deliver one side of the conversation and know. If all you're saying is, "What is it? Really? No," you don't need that in. We know what you would probably say. Or if you were speechless, show us you're speechless. So then what does she say?
You might want to sit down. I am here to tell you that your son, Joshua Clifton, passed away from a fall about 10 to 12 feet. What she didn't tell me is that he was crushed by a rock, by a boulder. Then she handed the piece of paper with a police detective's number on it in Arizona and walked out the door. 10 seconds. That's all she took.
I would say we got the makings of an incredibly dramatic and powerful speech. That was very dramatic. How short. And we can see how this can really develop into multiple different ways. What I would probably do is say it, and then after the dialogue say, "What I did not know until after," because what I didn't find out until later, that he was crushed by the rock. But then 10 seconds for the most important and devastating message I had or would ever receive. Now, what I would do is, throughout the presentation, what you could do as a transition line from one section to the next would be 10 seconds for the most important message of my life. Then you keep talking. 10 seconds for the most important message of my life. So that could be the repetitive refrain, and then a call for action at the end. And I don't know what you do at the end is. When you have an important message, no matter what the subject, to deliver, take more than 10 seconds. All right? Give you some ideas?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being so brave. Thank you. All right. Let's see. There he is. This is Richard. Another Laughing Matters, and we know he's been to Honolulu. Or his friend brought him a shirt. You were in Honolulu and bought it yourself?
Yes, I was in Honolulu.
Okay, and what is your speech about?
It's about a road trip, and I'm giving it tomorrow at the Model A Club.
All right. Well, let's see if we're going to change it before he delivers it. What is the subject of the speech?
It's a road trip.
But, okay, and did you get a life lesson from the road trip?
Yes.
All right, okay. No, get your one clap. Here's Richard.
It was 1916. Two car salesmen had this crazy idea. P.G. Skull and C.W. Tuthill wanted to drive a Maxwell touring car from the East Coast to the West Coast and back to prove its durability. C.W. Tuthill was my grandfather. And on the 100th anniversary of that trip, my brother and I wanted to recreate this transcontinental trip in the exact same model Maxwell Open touring car.
Oh, good. Doesn't this sound like a great story? Good. Would you say this was the adventure of your lifetime?
Absolutely.
Good. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but what I want you to deliver is to start, and the audience will tell us, because I don't know. You're going to, yeah. It was the greatest adventure of our lives. And I want you to say, in the date, my grandfather. So I want you to introduce, when you introduce the names, my grandfather and his friend, whoever it was. And so what you'd be doing is including the content from two sentences into one. Because if we know it's your grandfather, we know it's more. And so perhaps they went on a great adventure. It was the greatest adventure of my life. Or, no, I'm going to start with, it was the greatest adventure of their lives. And then when you come to do it, it was the greatest adventure of our lives. And then whatever you learned from this experience, you are going to incorporate so your audience can have the greatest experience of their lives. So you've got a line that is, you might call it a refrain, or an echo, or a transitional key idea. So when the audience walks out, what did he talk about? Great adventures. He told us about his grandfathers, and they did it themselves, and I'm inspired. I've always wanted to. Okay? Mm-hmm. So let's just do take two. Here's Richard.
It was the greatest adventure of their life. C.W. Tuthill and P.G. Skull drove a 1916 Maxwell from Newark, New Jersey to Los Angeles, California, and back. On the 100th anniversary, my brother and I wanted to experience that same great adventure. And on November 16th of 1916, November 16th in 2016, My brother and I climbed on board at Maxwell in Newark, New Jersey, and proceeded to travel all the way out to Los Angeles, California. And it was the most terrific experience in my life.
All right, good, good. Now, you have just proved it is how very difficult it is to incorporate ideas immediately. Because what you did, you left out that it was your grandfather, and I'd suggest you include it. So it was his grandfather and his best friend.
They were friends when they started.
Ah, now you see, wouldn't you like to hear that? And his best friend. Now at the beginning, so later communicate. Well, you have a theatrical choice, and I don't know what's right. They started their trip as best friends. Now later they can be even better friends, or they never speak so to each other again. The audience wants to know, what was it?
They didn't speak together after that trip, right?
Yeah. And if you've ever been on long trips with someone you like, you don't always like him at the end.
But my brother and I are still talking.
Good. You see, so that's fun. That's very good. So that was just a few suggestions that you can do to carry through, but this is a speech we would want to hear. You see the importance of the opening? You have aroused interest in the subject, and you have done that. Perfect. Give him a hand. Good. Now, the punch word is really the shortest flight. So I think, so it was my lifetime's shortest flight. Or, so, you will get more of a laugh or drama if that line is the shortest flight is at the end of the sentence. We can make the assumption that it's of your lifetime. So you can just say, my life's shortest flight. And that's good. What I would do, and it's great to add gestures, but I would bring them down a little at the beginning so we focus on your words, and then when you actually jump out a little later, then they would be more powerful. But that is a speech you would want to hear. I would like to know, and perhaps you tell in the speech, how long you had been thinking about doing that.
It was a birthday present to myself for my 40th birthday. I'd been thinking about it for a couple of months.
Because I have friends that have done it, including on this 70th birthday. It's scary enough flying. I congratulate you for jumping out, but you got a great speech, that's fine. Just calm down the gestures, edit that last sentence, and you're fine.
Thank
Good, wonderful, good, congratulations, good. No. Yes, walk down carefully, there are no parachutes. All right, now welcome. So let us see, you are Kathleen from District 14, Division A Director at, what's that, Gwinnett?
Gwinnett Tucker Toastmasters.
Gwinnett Tucker Toastmasters? Yeah, be a little more enthusiastic, good.
I came from Georgia.
You came from Georgia?
Yes, I'm here from Georgia. I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, what brought you to Texas?
Livia and Kyle Mitchell. Many years ago, when Livia Mitchell was a kid, I helped my late husband and I helped raise her. And we've been friends ever since.
Yay! Good. All right, Kathleen. And we are going to hear the opening of what presentation?
This is a presentation that I give to inspire people to live every day because they don't know how much they're going to have.
All right, good. Oh.
I think it was a life well lived. Much longer than originally expected, but still far too short. My late husband, George, had overcome so many obstacles in his life that we all hoped that this would be another one. But unfortunately, we only have so many heartbeats in our lives. And on September 20th of 2009, George's heartbeats stopped.
The only thing I would suggest, the only thing, because that is powerful, is you said, we only have so many heartbeats in our lives. I would say our lives only have so many heartbeats.
Okay.
Heartbeats is the punch word.
Okay.
Heartbeats is apart from that, that is fabulous.
Well, thank
That is unbelievable.
Thank you so much.
Now, good. Don't you honestly want to know about his life? You've accomplished your goal. You've got our attention. Now, can you see, as you look at our friends who are putting themselves in the hot seat, this is really tough, that the suggestions made, they might be simple. Now, when we were going from the East Coast to the West Coast, for example, was he driving the right way? Exactly. Because as the audience would be looking at a map, the West Coast is there. Now, if he was going this way, that might be a distraction. Everything we do adds to or distracts from our message. Would you agree that there have been lessons that you have seen, learned, or had reinforced from your own speeches just by seeing our friends in the hot seat? So shout out specific techniques or suggestions that you'll incorporate.
Know your punchline.
Know your punchline.
Slow down.
Slow down.
You confuse, you lose.
Confuse, you lose. A Darren LaCroix, yes. Everything is alliteration. You do realize I told the I taught the champs everything they know. I haven't taught them everything I know. Use the stage appropriately. Pause for effect. And remember, with our dramatic story, what do you do with the dialogue? You deliver it. You let the character introduce themselves. And although we didn't hear it, the recommendation was the 10 seconds becomes the echo, the refrain throughout the presentation. Good. Come on down. This is, yes, Cynthia from Audi's or Orators.
Yeah, Audie L. Murphy VA Hospital.
Oh, good. Do we have any of your pals?
Yes, there are several out here.
They're not very noisy or supportive. And Cynthia, this is a speech about?
Personal development.
Here's Cynthia.
The summer of 1971, there were 72 children growing up on my block, corner to corner.
Okay, we gesticulate, but we keep the microphone in front of our mouth.
As soon as I did it, I knew it was wrong.
All right, now I like this opening. I really do. So when you have an opening that works, you might just play with it a little. So I'm assuming it was fun growing up on your block.
Yes, but you should hear the next line because it's funnier.
Okay, all right.
Ma'am.
Go back one line.
72 kids growing up on my block, corner to corner. Yes, it was a very Catholic neighborhood. But without any of us knowing it then, those relationships directly contributed to the people we are today. Because someone had to be in charge, someone had to lead the line, someone had to twirl the jump rope. But what it did for all of us was give Mom, can I go outside and play? A really big meaning.
I like it. And gentlemen, I am sorry, I probably won't get beyond our next two women. So you can take seats in case, just in case. So don't run away too much, but I think that will be all we can do. I liked how you started. What I would encourage you, and just start this way and deliver a couple of lines. Here's Cynthia.
It was so much fun growing up in a Catholic neighborhood. The summer of 1971, there were 72 kids on my block. So was that better?
Now, and I said to Cynthia, just as I would say to you, I had absolutely no idea if it would be better at the beginning or wait till the end. And that is all you can do is try it. That's why we go to Toastmasters, to try something new. Based on just hearing a couple lines, would you say for the next few speeches, try it at the beginning? Yes. Try it at the end. Yes. So you see, so all I'm going to do is you work on it, Cynthia, both ways. And you take it out and you deliver it, say 3 ways one way, 3 ways the next, and see in general what it is. You can make either work. It's a theatrical choice. Because, so I don't know. But that's the creative process. You do not create a masterpiece immediately. You create a body of work, even a short 5-minute speech or story, and then you take it out on the road, and you say, well, what do you mean by I can write a new speech for Toastmasters? Yes, but you got to think beyond Toastmasters. Because you take your Toastmaster stories and you put them in business presentations and staff meetings. And if you want to deliver longer speeches or have a brown bag lunch at your office, and the very least at dinner table. You know, your buddies, you said, have I ever told you about what it was like growing up? And you see, what you do, you practice You practice on your friends. You practice in every day, one-on-one. Good job.
I just wanted to tell you that the reason that this speech is given, I give this a lot, is because somebody will say, "You're so bossy." And I'll say, "No, I'm assertive." But when you're the oldest of 6 kids and you have the smallest family on the block, you learn to be outgoing and extroverted.
Yes. Perfect. You came by it honestly. I don't know what my excuse is, except I'm the eldest child. All right, come on down. We just got a couple of quickie examples. All right, here is Mary Thomas from Alpha Toastmasters. All right. And this speech is about... I'm afraid this is going to be the last one, but I'll grab you this afternoon and help you, okay?
Actually, this is an introduction I shared with one of my fellow Alpha members who had given the speech, and then I kind of redid the introduction.
Okay. Now, did you kind of redo it, or did you redo it?
I redid it.
You don't kind of, sort of. You do, you don't.
Okay, I full out redid it.
Okay. Here's Mary.
How often have you had one of those experiences? You know the ones I'm talking about? You're so frustrated, you're going to quit. Give up. The obstacles and barriers have overcome your ability, or at least you think that way.
All right, good. Now, I like where you're going, but I would move out this, because if you say, have you ever had one of those experiences? Now, those could be good, bad, indifferent, frustrating, fun, and adventure. Now, by your face, you were communicating it was tough. So that was good. If you're going to talk about tough, you don't say, have you ever had one of those experiences? So your demeanor was perfect for what you were saying. I would get to the next line and say, challenging, frustrating, you're ready to quit. Exactly. So I would just get to it, move the second line. Okay. And if you're taking people to a tough place, at some point before too long, you have to relieve the tension. So perhaps your message is, with whatever you're going to teach them, they can get over it faster.
Okay.
Because you give us advice on how to get through them? Yep. Because it would not be a very motivational speech if you didn't. So with that, Mary, thank you very much. I appreciate your braveness. Thank you. Has that been helpful? Can you see how our brave souls taught you some valuable lessons? Yes. Can you see how wonderful it might be to have Patricia Fripp as your speech coach? 24/7? So let's... Well, you saw clips from my Fripp VT, so let's... What you know is you don't trust inspiration. Inspiration comes, but you practice. What fuels is your knowledge, your preparation, your discipline, your rehearsal. So all learning requires repetition and reinforcement. And here is a dirty little secret about the training industry where I've made my very comfortable living for more than 3 decades. One, when you have a great audience who is really interested in your subject, and you have a great speaker who is good at communicating that message, as enthusiastic as you are, and I challenge you to take your notes and try and teach somebody else what you think you learned. That is the best way to learn, is to teach somebody else. However, you will, in 2 weeks' time, have forgotten 70% of what you learned from all your speakers. So the only way you really develop your skills, which is why you go back to Toastmasters, often for decades, is repetition and reinforcement. So for those of you who would think, oh, I would love Fripp as my speech coach 24/7, well, I spent... What would it mean to you, your career, your company, if every time you stood up in front of 5, 50, or 500, in a boardroom, training center, or convention hall, if you were confident, you were powerful, persuasive, professional, compelling on message, and a resounding success? If you want to accelerate your career, transform sales results, develop leadership skills, or even become an in-demand, highly paid professional speaker, then Fripp Virtual Training is designed for you. Fripp VT Powerful Persuasive Presentations is my highly interactive, learn at your own pace virtual training around all area of presentations. It is almost as if I am there, sitting next to you, helping. Fripp Virtual Training is a multi-million-dollar, state-of-the-art, web-based training. What would it mean to you, your career, your company, if every time you stood up in front of 5, well, 50, I would at this point turn it off, in a boardroom, training center, or convention hall, if you were confident, Can you go back to the PowerPoint and skip that? Well, in front of you or on the seat next to you, that is my Fripp VT. Yes, exactly. And would you like to turn it over? And on the back, you're looking at the front. On the back, there's a white square in the middle. Would you write down Fripp, F-R-I-P-P? Fripp, my name, in the white box, F-R-I-P-P. No, doesn't make any difference. Fripp. Fripp, Fripp, Fripp. Fripp, Fripp, Fripp. Fripp, Fripp, Fripp. What I am recommending you do is you go to Fripp VT, and you see it's on there, Fripp VT, and you sign up for a free trial. And you can have a free chapter on openings, on stories, and on sales. And then, if you like it, and I guarantee you will, you can click join. And then it will ask you have your coupon code. And you put in what you put in? Lowercase does not matter. And you will get a 20% discount as a friend from Fripp. So the first month you would pay $237, and then it'd be $23 a month for as long as you want. And you will learn all aspects of presentation on any device 24/7, because it is better to learn a little frequently, and the chapters are put together for busy people like you. You can watch it on your iPad, your phone, your computer. Now, if you are a real wild techie and you do everything on your mobile device, you can text 96,000, that's 3 zeros, and put the word Fripp. Now, if you're over 35, go to the website and go to Fripp VT. If you're under 35, on your phone, you can text 96,000 and put in Fripp. And that will take you to sign up. It depends, it'll get you the same way. Now, if you want to take my bag of goodies home and listen in your car, watch DVDs, please do. If once you've taken a trial within the next 2 months you decide I want Fripp VT, I will have your name from the form. You will have a $100 discount on top of that, so it would be $137 because I will give you your packet free. Is that a good deal? Only for Toastmasters. So Fripp VT. me 24/7. You'll never disturb me. I will always have my makeup on, always be well dressed, and act as if I've just had my coffee. Congratulations for investing your weekend being with us. Thank you for the wonderful reception and warm welcome. As you heard, when I started Toastmasters, I was a hairstylist. And what took me from behind the hairstyling chair, which I loved, to training rooms, corporate boardrooms, and convention stages was taking what I learned in Toastmasters and getting really serious. My friends and I that I met in Dale Carnegie, we called ourselves the Future Millionaires Breakfast Club, and we went to every seminar, every training, through the rallies. So based on 30 years experience, I bring the best I possibly have learned to shorten your trip. It doesn't matter where you start. Good presentation skills will take you anywhere you want to go. It's rather like railway tracks. They take a long time to get in a place, but habits, once they are there, will take you anywhere you want to go. Thank you.